Okay, so I just got my hair cut by my friend Charlene. Charlene's been cutting my hair since I moved here, really beginning of 1995. And we were talking about the new Oasis tour, how psyched we are about it. I have so many friends that are going to see him over in Europe and that are going to see him here. Oasis reuniting is the biggest story of the last 20 years in music. I mean, this is a massively big thing. I'm a huge Oasis fan and have been since the first record came out in August of 1994. As a matter of fact, I listened to that tape when I was driving around the United States and ended up here in Atlanta. So I was thought to myself, when was the first time I saw Oasis? I was like, oh yeah, I saw them at the Masquerade on their first tour in February of 1995. So I go on and look at setlist.com and I was like, there it is, Oasis. February 18th, 1995. Wait a second. The opening band is Skirt. Skirt was Charlene's band. So I call Charlene back up and she's thinking like, why are you calling me? I just saw you. And I said, wait a minute. Did you guys open for Oasis at the Masquerade? She's like, yeah, don't you remember? I was like, oh my God, that's right. Charlene was the bass player of the band that opened for them in their first tour. Then I thought to myself, who did I go to that show with? Oh yeah, I went to the show with Tim Smith. For those of you that have watched the channel for a long time, you've seen Tim. He's been in a couple of my videos. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. How do I know Tim? Well, the first place that I moved to, the first day I was here, I lived with this guy, Francisco. I lived with a whole bunch of musicians. And one of the guys in the house name was Michael Weeman. I literally met Michael in the first hour that I went over to Fran's house to rehearse for the cover gig I was playing that night, which is the reason that I stayed here instead of going to Austin, Texas. Michael was playing the Oasis record when I walked into the house, and immediately we bonded. I was like, you like Oasis? He goes, oh man, this new record is amazing. And I was like, I love the new Oasis record. Definitely, maybe. It was the first record. So I'm talking to Michael about the music scene. He's like, do you know the band Jellyfish? I was like, yeah. He goes, you know the bass player, Tim Smith, lives here. Really? He's like, yeah, he's in this band Thing 1, Thing 2. You should really meet them. As a matter of fact, they're playing at this club called the Dark Horse tomorrow night. Literally the second night that I'm in Atlanta. So he and I go down to it, and he introduces me to the guys, and I immediately hit it off with Tim and Rob Aldridge. And Tim's like, we should definitely play together. So the day after that, I started playing with Tim. That band was called Thing 1, Thing 2, and it eventually morphed into a band called the Uma Jets that I played bass, guitar, keyboards with. So I'm thinking about the Oasis thing, and then it occurred to me, wait a second. Tim went to the Oasis show with me in February. That first thing, I was like, hey, you want to go see Oasis? He's like, yeah. So we go to Oasis together. Now, Tim ended up playing bass with Noel Gallagher from 2011 to 2016 in Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. What are the chances that Tim goes to that show with me in February of 1995 and then in the future, 16 years later, is playing bass with Noel Gallagher in the band? Or did he play guitar? I think he played bass in the band. Not only was I a massive fan of Oasis, but all the guys in Billionaire were, because Oasis was really our type of band. That huge rock show, Noel and Liam would say anything about anybody. They're incredibly opinionated, hilarious, rock stars, didn't care what anyone thought of them. They were the epitome of rock and roll stars, which is why them coming back together for this tour is such a big thing, because there are really no bands like that. I mean, this is really harkens back to people of the 70s, the 60s and 70s. Oasis is very unique in that way. That's why it's so exciting to so many people that they've gotten back together, reformed, and are doing this tour. One other strange connection is Michael Weeman, who was living at the house, went on to manage the first band I ever produced called the Tender Idols. And in that band, there was a guitar player named Dave Cobb who became one of the biggest producers of country music, but one of the biggest producers here in the United States. Huge music producer and dear friend of mine. Great musician, great guitar player. That whole thing stemmed from these people I met within the first couple of days, because I met Charlene days after I moved here, because she was part of that whole scene because she was in a band. What are the chances that all of that happened? Well, as Jay Graydon likes to say, 100%, because it happened. Love to know your thoughts. Let me know how many of you are going to see Oasis. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.